This year we were again promised a laser focus on jobs and the economy. And what do we have to show for it? Well, today we have another divisive constitutional amendment and not a single bill on the House floor that would create a single job for Minnesotans. I guess it's time for Minnesotans to come to grips with this cold, hard fact. The Republicans are out of touch with your priorities. Instead, they're focused on an extreme constitutional amendment agenda.
In 2009, Governor Valenti vetoed a set of election reforms. And instead of running and whining to the voters and saying, the governor vetoed our bill, we need to have the voters fix it for us, instead of running and proposing a constitutional amendment, we actually sat down with Republicans, we worked with the administration, and we got the job done. And we passed virtually the same bill the next year, but it took hard work. If election reform is an important priority, it takes hard work, rather than jumping aside from the principle of compromise, the principle of bipartisanship that underlies all election reforms. And instead, we are focusing on a constitutional amendment that has nothing to do with the big priorities of the people of Minnesota. So we would ask Republicans to rethink this measure.
Permanent ink. We're putting something beyond the reach of future legislators, future governors, and we're really imposing our will on future generations. That should be reserved for very special cases. It's sort of like invasive surgery. You shouldn't do it unless you absolutely have to. And here, we don't have to, but we're doing it now for the second time in 2 years. And I think it's worth noting that of all the states that have tried to impose some sort of photo ID system, only one state has done it by constitutional amendment, and that's Mississippi. So from now on, if this passes and if the voters approve it, our one peer in the nation will be the state of Mississippi. And I might add, even Mississippi's is more forgiving, more humane, more rational. Even Mississippi exempts people who live in state licensed facilities, the disabled, the sick, the elderly. This doesn't. So now, by the way, it has the real risk of starting a political arms race here. Because I can guarantee you there are other interest groups aligned with other political parties who might also want to put policy preferences into the Constitution. And there might come a time when their allies in the legislature are in power, and they may have issues that they care about that also poll very well. And they may wish to go around the legislative process too. And unfortunately, I fear what the Republicans have done here is start an arms race, and today when they vote yes, they'll be launching a missile that I think they'll wish they could take back.
Without question, we have a very strong constitutional method that protects our access, increases integrity, and makes sure that every eligible voter will be able to vote.
But the legislative process has been going on for quite a few years, not just by me, but other members as well. I'm just the one in this situation that has the majority in the House and Senate. We're in this kind of unique time and situation, and that I get to be here. And there's many members sometimes that I remember, what was it, I was working on something, or somebody else was working on it, and they said to another member, I worked on that for years, and now you come in as a freshman and here you get it done. You know, it's a legislative process that goes beyond any 1 or 2 years. You know, history always kind of looks back to those things, but I think for me, considering while being an election judge, this thinking, just show your ID, and now to this point, it seems to be the thread of my life, has had a lot to do with that. And you know what's interesting? My uncle was Attorney General and a Supreme Court Justice in North Dakota. And at one time I was able to ask someone who knew my uncle, because he passed away in 1984. I said, what one word would describe my Uncle Paul? And they said, integrity. This was after I had focused on integrity myself, and how he had influenced my life as a young person, and taken that stand. And I just think of them in that regard, of this whole heritage that we have.